Today I want to share with you some perspectives, some sociological perspectives from the very first episode of Mad Men. Don Draper is the top ad man at Sterling Cooper. In this episode, he needs to come up with a way to pitch a cigarette brand called Lucky Strike, despite the fact that the government says that smoking causes cancer. Today he's meeting with the owner of Lucky Strike, and if he doesn't come up with an angle around the FTC's findings, the agency will lose the account. Don trying to figure out an angle to justify smoking is a metaphor for him trying to justify maintaining a relationship and a life that he is not happy with. This is why he has a mistress, which is just another dead-end relationship. At the meeting with Lucky Strike's owner and son, Don's pitch is not to disprove the FTC's findings that cigarettes are poisonous, because all cigarettes are poisonous. What sets Lucky Strike apart from his competitors is that they are roasted. Just as he dances around the dangers of smoking, Don uses the temporary pleasure he gets from having a mistress to dance around the fact that he is not happy with his marriage. Living a double life. Greta Gutman from the agency's research department enters the office and warns Don that they should police themselves to offset government regulations on their cigarette ads. Cigarettes are part of American life, she says, citing Freud's theory that some people have a death wish. Sal quips, so we're supposed to believe that people are living one way and secretly thinking the exact opposite? Ridiculous. Now, this statement sums up the entire series, as everyone is living some kind of double life, starting with Don Draper, who is actually a deserter named Richard Whitman, who has stolen his identity off of a fellow soldier killed in action. Sal, who comes out as a gay in a later episode, is pretending to be straight in a sexist, ultra-masculine culture. Sexism. In Mad Men, women are exposed to sexism at work, in business, and at home. And here are some examples. On Peggy Olson's first day at the agency, ad men make sexist remarks about her in an elevator. In another example, the ad men place bets on who will have sex with Peggy first. Then Don Draper walks out of a meeting with a female client for being out of line by disagreeing with him and voicing her opinion. In another example, Don Draper meets with a female client but assumes that the guy with her is the owner until she tells him that she's the boss. And in another example, the doctor at the clinic asks Peggy, who's getting a pap smear, if she's married, warning her that quote-unquote easy women don't get married and telling her not to become quote-unquote the town pump because he is writing her prescription for birth control pills. Racism. There are many examples of racism in this episode. For instance, the manager of a restaurant reprimands a male middle-aged waiter who is black not to be too chatty with the customers when he sees the waiter speaking with Don Draper. And another example, except for Salvatore Romano, who works in the agency's art department, and a young Jewish man who works in the mailroom, there are no other ethnic groups represented at the agency. And another example, before finding a Jewish employee to represent the agency at a meeting with a potential Jewish client, Don makes a racist joke when Roger Sterling asks where they can dig up a Jew for the meeting, asking Roger, want me to run down to the deli and get someone? And in another example, Don recommends to Miss Mencken, who is Jewish, that her store offer coupons to increase business. Miss Mencken insists on raising prices to compete with her competitors who don't offer coupons, which angers Don because the coupons on a deeper level suggest that she, a Jew, is a second-class citizen and is, therefore, of lesser value than her white competitors. Conforming to norms. Joan Holloway offers advice to Peggy Olson. the new girl, on how she should accommodate her male superiors, like keeping a bottle of rye in her drawer for Don Draper to wearing shorter dresses to get her ankles to quote unquote sing. Peggy is portrayed as a fish out of water. In the later episodes, however, her backstory reveals her as being raised by women and not exposed to the overt sexism she is exposed to at the agency. Joan is portrayed as the native who has shaped herself to survive in a world dominated by white males. As lead secretary, her function is to teach Peggy how to conform. Unrestrained. At the striptease club, the ad men are at a table drinking and smoking and making passes at waitresses. Some girls arrive and sit with everyone except Sal. One of the girls makes a comment about the play, saying, "It's hot, it's loud, and it's filled with men." Like alcohol, this environment frees the men of the civil restrictions imposed on them by society. The striptease is a metaphor for the systematic liberation of the ad men's egos, particularly Pete's, who is about to be married and in a sense restricted from openly expressing himself. As the stripper on the stage peels off her clothes, Pete's inhibitions fall away and he molests his date. Afterwards, he stops by Peggy's apartment because with her, he can privately express himself as Don Draper expresses his true self with his own mistress. When Peggy takes Pete into her place despite knowing that he is getting married in a few days, she is also agreeing to be a second-class citizen in his life, as women are second-class citizens at Sterling Cooper. Conclusion. Ultimately, this episode lays the groundwork for the changes that will take place in the agency, but most importantly, the changes that will impose themselves on society and the orderly world of Don Draper. The first seismic event marking the end of his world is Miss Minkin, the Jewish owner of the department store who embodies two oppressed groups challenging him and his world. Don Draper is an amalgam of the 60s, from the civil rights movement to the public's disillusionment with the war in Vietnam. Thanks for watching this video. If you like the video, please leave a like and a comment. Also, in the description, you will find a link going to my movie blog where you'll be able to read more about films such as the video that you just watched. Again, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you next time.